12 Titans in Greek mythology. Before there were the 12 Olympian gods and goddesses, the Titans ruled the Greek universe. Who were the Titans in Greek mythology? We know of the Greek gods and goddesses, like Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades. But what about the Greek Titans? They play an important role in Greek mythology, yet have not been popularized in modern culture. 12 Titans from Greek mythology, who, unlike the Olympian gods, are not as well known in popular culture. The Greek creation myth. Out of the empty space of chaos came Gaia, the earth, Tartarus, the underworld, and Eros, desire. Gaia gave birth to the mountains, the sky, and the sea. She took her son, the sky, Uranus, as her husband, and with him she mothered the 12 Titans, the very first gods and goddesses, taller than the mountains they used as thrones. However, Uranus was disgusted by their next children, the 3 Cyclopes and 3 monstrous sons, each with 50 heads and 100 arms, and he threw them into Tartarus, the underworld prison of suffering. Yet Gaia loved all of her children, and she could not forgive Uranus for his cruelty. She made a diamond sickle for her youngest son Cronus, and with it he defeated his father. Gaia later married her son Pontus. The ocean and the Titans took charge of the universe. 12 Titans. Oceanus. The eldest of the Titans, Oceanus, was married to his sister Thetis. Together, they produced over 6,000 spirits of the oceans and streams, known as the Oceanids. However, Oceanus and Thetis were far too fertile, and their union began to cause floods. So they divorced to stop the damage. After the rise of the Olympians, Oceanus gave over his realm to Poseidon, but Zeus allowed him to continue to live as a simple god of the ocean. Thetis. When Cronus became paranoid and his wife Rhea wished to protect her children, she brought her daughter Hera to her sister Thetis, who raised her as her own. Later, as a favor to Hera, Thetis punished Callisto and Arcas by forbidding their constellations from touching the sea. They were forced to continuously circle the sky without rest. We know those constellations as Ursa Major and Ursa Minor, or the Big and Little Dippers. Hyperion. Hyperion was the Titan god of light, wisdom, and vigilance. He married his sister Thea, and they gave birth to Helios, the sun, Selene, the moon, and Eos, the dawn. Hyperion and 3 of his other brothers, Coeus, Creus, and Iapetus, formed the 4 pillars that separated and held the heavens aloft. According to one of the more horrifying Greek traditions, the same 4 pillars pinned their father down while Cronus castrated Uranus with his sickle. Thea, the goddess of light, was also a ravishing beauty, perhaps the loveliest of the 6 Titan daughters. She was the goddess of light, and therefore the perfect match for her brother Hyperion. She imbued gold, silver, and precious gems with their radiant shine, and spoke through an oracle at Phthiotis in Thessaly. Coeus was the keeper of the Pillar of the North. He was the Titan god of intellect and married his sister Phoebe. Their children, Asteria and Leto, were foundational figures in later mythology. Both daughters were pursued by Zeus. Asteria turned into a quail and drowned herself in the Aegean Sea, but Leto bore Zeus 2 children, the twins Apollo and Artemis, who became powerful Olympians. Phoebe. Since Phoebe was the grandmother of Apollo and Artemis, the twins were sometimes called Phoebus and Phoebe as alternative names. Phoebe also had some association with the moon, as did Artemis. Her most integral power was that of prophecy, and she was heavily associated with the famous oracle at Delphi, later connected to Apollo. Creus married his half-sister Eurybia, who was not one of the original 12 Titans, but the daughter of Gaia from her second husband, Pontus. They produced 3 children, Astraios, the god of dusk, Pallas, god of warcraft, and Perses, the god of destruction. Creus fought with the Olympian gods during the Titans' overthrow, and as a result, he was imprisoned in Tartarus. Mnemosyne, the goddess of memory and the voice of the underground oracle of Trophonios in Boeotia. Mnemosyne did not marry one of her brothers, but still helped mother the next generation of deities. She slept with Zeus for 9 consecutive days, and, as a result, gave birth to the 9 muses Calliope, Clio, Erato, Euterpe, Melpomene, Polymnia, Urania, Terpsichore, and Thalia, whose roles were to give artists and philosophers inspiration for creation. Iapetus, the Titan Iapetus, was the god of craftsmanship or mortality, varying between sources. He married one of his Oceanid nieces, Clymene, and they produced 4 sons, Atlas, Prometheus, Epimetheus, and Menoetius. These 4 sons were the ancestors of the first humans, and each passed a certain detrimental quality onto humanity: rash courage, scheming, stupidity, and violence, respectively. Themis, the Titan goddess Themis, represented natural and moral order and law. She became the second wife of Zeus and helped him hold power over the other gods and all the earth. She created the divine laws that even superseded the authority of the gods themselves. She manifested in multiple different forms and mothered the fates and the hours. Themis was the main Titan goddess of the oracle at Delphi, but she was so fond of Apollo that she eventually offered the oracle to him. Cronus, also known as Kronos and Saturn among the Romans, was the youngest son of Gaia and Uranus, but also the strongest of the Greek Titans. For a brief time, Earth enjoyed a golden age under his rule. The vices had not yet been invented, and the Earth was in total peace and harmony. Yet Cronus did not release his brothers from Tartarus as he had promised, and his mother grew angry with him and began to plot his downfall. Cronus learned of a prophecy which stated that, as Cronus had dethroned his father, so one of his children would dethrone him. He, therefore, took all of his children from his sister and wife Rhea, as soon as they were born, and swallowed them. Cronus was secure and happy, thinking he had subverted the threat, but Rhea was understandably upset. As the goddess responsible for the flow of Cronus's kingdom, she was well placed to interrupt that flow. When she learned she was expecting again, she asked her mother for advice. Gaia helped Rhea conceal her newborn baby, and Rhea swaddled a stone in baby clothes and gave the stone to Cronus to swallow. Cronus was fooled, but Gaia and Rhea carefully concealed little Zeus in a small cave on the island of Crete.